Hello, everyone. How you guys doing? So, recently I put a post up and I was just scrolling through the reels as everyone does. And then there was a reel that really spoke to me. So, this reel was talking about recruiting student athletes. And this is something that I used to do many years ago. I was not only a basketball player, I was also a coach, not only in the high school level, but the college level, and also the semi pro level. And with all this coaching comes recruiting. And with the recruiting, it just seems like there is a special type of student. Everyone thinks it has to be the one that scores the most points or the one that gets the most rebounds, when in fact, it is not. It's always the one that has that great, tremendous hunger, that wants to do the little things in order to make him or her more like improved in order to make their team better, to make their teammates better. So when we do these things, just going to adjust just a little bit. When we look for recruiting, when we're looking for kids, regardless of the sport, we want someone that has a hunger, that wants to improve, that will do anything that they can possible. Now, when it came to this video, he mentioned that when it comes to parenting, you're basically raising one of two type of kids. You're either raising a sheep or a wolf. And then right away, it just transported me right to when I was coaching. And the reason why I stopped coaching is because I felt like I wanted to win more than my players. And I know every team is not the same and everyone has their waves, when it comes to you have that team that was the great mixture, almost like that mix of players just really just came out. But when it really came down to it, I know that every great team has the coaches, and the coaches cannot want to win championships more than the players. So it's almost like there was something that was missing with the type of kids that I was getting. They didn't have that hunger. They just wanted to play games. They didn't want to get better. They didn't want to challenge each other in practice. They didn't want to challenge each other when it came to, all right, I'm going to get more points than you, but it was a friendly competition. It wasn't like ego tripping, like, oh, I was in the newspaper and you weren't. It was none of that. But when it came to that whole sense of hunger, that's what I really wanted to talk about. And not only like to put parents in their place, because that's not it, because we're all trying to do the best that we can with what we got. But I'm just really trying to get at what we're doing as a society, not only for parenting, but also what's going on in the classrooms. Because for those that don't know, I have my own online tutoring business and I've been teaching in the classroom. Actually, if I can add on the times I was an instructional assistant, AKA a paraeducator for special ed kids, that's 22 years combined. And for those that are coming in, welcome on in. So, with those 22 years combined, I've seen some things. And I just really just want to I feel like a lot of our kids don't really have that hunger. Some of them do because they had those parents that had that, that hunger, that desire, that hustle. Or you just had kids that literally looked around and said, I don't want to live this life forever. I need to make that change. I need to be that change. So this is why I say, are we raising sheep or wolves? We can't have both. And I'm going to tell you, I was raised to be a sheep. But I know there were certain situations that my parents wanted me to up and be a wolf. And then they wondered why I couldn't. Because I was told to be sweet and kind and considerate. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I started to grow taller. And then next thing you know, I was the tallest one in the class. And the only thing that I kept hearing was, Audrey, you're in the way. Okay, shrink down a little bit, Audrey. You're a little too big, a little too broad. Okay, just try to fit into this space. And then after a while, you just get tired of fitting into spaces. And then I noticed a lot of my friends that were shorter than me, They were actually told to, be big, expand, take up space. It's great to be fun size, but everybody wants a lot of fun. And I just felt like that was a little unfair. But when he spoke of, are we raising sheep and wolves? Because sheep, they constantly need protection. And that's what we do. We protect our kids. But there's some people that do overprotecting, like the helicopter parent. Like, what are you doing? What's going on? What's happening? And I see all these posts on like social media, especially for homeschool. Parents are like, I don't know what to do with my child. They're starting to do this. Like, give me suggestions. And it's great that you want to get suggestions from other people, but when the whole push comes to shove, the final result's going to come from you. What is the consequence to how they were doing? So when you're kind of putting this all into perspective, I know that we want to raise wolves. Look at our school system. Every time you look at a mascot, how many people are the sheep? No one wants to be a sheep. Everybody wants to be a wildcat or a falcon or a grizzly bear or a brown bear or, a hornet. Everybody wants to be an aggressive animal. They never have the sheep, or they don't have the dairy cows. Like, maybe they're out there. I don't know. But the ones that I see are usually the ones that are the aggression. Now, I'm not saying that we don't want our kids to have, feeling of just happiness and being allowed to be creative. And you don't always have to be aggressive all the time. Trust me, I get that, because we do need to have well-rounded children. We need to have well-rounded adults. We don't want to have you're either weak or strong. I don't want to do that. But I'm just saying, especially from an academic perspective, I'm seeing that we're starting to basically teach our kids to be sheep. Stay in line. Know your role. Listen to the adults. Even when the adult is incorrect, don't correct the adults. Don't advocate for yourself. Just take and follow the line. Why are we doing that? And if I may take it even a step further, I know teachers, there's a lot of stuff that's going on, and we're trying to compact so much energy in such a small space. But here's the thing. Packets are killing our kids, because this is what's happening. They're getting a packet. There's no room to do any kind of notes. There's no room for them to have some kind of creation, no time to say. I know it's easier, but I know it's expensive, because there are some schools that can't really afford to do as much paper as we go through, because we keep getting people that are not in the classroom making decisions about what books we should have. And then all of a sudden, when we do get the books, guess what happens? We look through it as the teacher of instructing, the teacher of record. We look through the concepts so we can make our lesson plans, and we're like, why is this here instead of here? Why can't we just go here? Why? And this doesn't help for the kids that are just coming in from another school when it's just pure chaos. And then all of a sudden, the teacher has to figure out what to do with this information. And then October, which is coming up, we're going to do our professional developments, where we have to go somewhere to watch a video or to listen to a presentation of the person that wrote the notebook or the textbook. And then they all of a sudden ask us questions like, okay, does anyone have any questions? And everyone's hands are raising up. Why are we using this book? Because you're telling us that this is supposed to be a story of functions, let's just say. I'm thinking of Eureka Math. It's a story of functions. So basically, the kids are supposed to start at story number 1. But when you have kids going into your junior class, they're starting at story number 12, but they missed 1 through 11. So it's almost like you go into a movie midway through and is supposed to know exactly what's going on. So we're basically telling them, oh, no, just do this. And then later on, they say, no, you're supposed to start here. This is only supposed to be for kids and it travels up. And we immediately look for a representation, a representative of our district to say, hey, you're having our kids start here and they need to start here. And if you haven't noticed, the pace of the curriculum has doubled since the pandemic. And I'm starting to see that as an online tutor. My kids are freaking out. And I'm like, okay, breathe. Like for me, I feel like my role is to breathe. Let's break it down. Well, my teacher says I should already learn this. And I didn't. And I'm like, I know you didn't. Because there was something called the pandemic that screwed a whole lot of stuff up. And guess what, parents, the ones that are listening, guess what? We're still recovering academically from the pandemic because guess what? We were dealing with a lot of stuff prior to the pandemic and the pandemic just exploded up. And now there's a lot of stuff that we're coming back. Their kids are starting right where we left off. And then also you need to check your kid's schedule to see if this math class that they're taking is a full year or a half year, because there's a lot of schools that are continuing on with that. So that's a side note. Go ahead and check. But when it comes to when I'm saying the sheep part of academics, when you're giving, and that was one thing that I really definitely want to put into, I know it's hard for me to do it for my TikTok, but for everyone else, he had this saying, they try to take away the struggle. There's no character being built. That means if we keep making things easier for our kids, they're losing that character. Think about it. How many times have you said last week, I'll even give you that part. How many times did you say last week that today's kids is built different? Like they just don't, it's like when things get a little hard, they just back off. Because that's what it is. Because we, as the older people, we're like, look, I don't want my kids, let me use, for example, mathematics. When you hear the word math, did the hair in the back of your neck just went like this? Okay. Majority of the times people are like, oh, or even better, algebra. Ready? You feel better? Yeah. Because you're like, ooh, my kid is about to go into algebra. And I remember those days. Ooh, Audrey, you have no idea. The struggle was real because you didn't have a teacher that was like, look, guys, this is how we transferred from what you did in middle school to what you're doing now. And let me show you the transition. And if you had someone to break down that transition and then, okay, now this is how we're going to amp it up a little bit. And they take it piece by piece. But our curriculum is not based off of piece by piece. It's like, you know it, let's move on. But everyone keeps forgetting, especially math, that math is a language all in itself. The rotation of it, the presentation of it, how you break it down, it's completely different from all the other concepts. So it's going to be treated that way. If you really stop and take a moment, what is the number one tutoring service that's being provided out there? Reading is out there. Comprehension is out there. But math is number one. We struggle with math because of the presentation, the way it was presented. It was not like you didn't have someone that broke it down. It was just like, memorize this, memorize this. Here's the test. Memorize this, memorize this. Here's the test. Here's something that you're never going to use. Here's something that you may use. For me, I like to present math to my students when they always ask me, why am I doing this? And you're doing this because I don't know what your next step is. And I'd rather you say, I've seen this before, than saying, I've never seen this before, ever. So because I'm that type of person that likes to instill that information onto my kids, I want my kids to be wolves. I want them, when they feel like they're hungry and there's nothing around, they're going to find somewhere to eat. They're going to find something to do. Whereas sheep They're just waiting for someone to give them food. They're waiting for someone to give them the information. If I may take it with my personal experience, I had to learn how to take and play a sport. I wasn't born into a basketball family. I was not born into a basketball family. My family instilled, they didn't want me to play sports, especially my mother. I had to fight in order to advocate for the fact that I enjoyed playing basketball. It wasn't until my junior year of high school when I really started to flourish and people started saying my name and we actually won our Catholic League championship. I know, shameless plug, but here we are. Until my mother started seeing, oh, okay, this is cool. And then I started getting the recruiting letters. And once those recruiting letters started coming in, and then she saw Yale was recruiting me, Harvard was recruiting me, the Army was recruiting me, University of VA was recruiting me, St. Joe's was recruiting me. I had 125 schools recruiting me. That's when she was like, oh, this is something big. Because she wasn't raised about that. Both my parents are from Jamaica. They ran everywhere. I was not a runner. I was not built to run. I was built to basically get rebounds and beat other people up. But when I did all that, then I had to make that drive and determination to want to be better. I had to get that drive and determination to want to advance. And I'm carrying that over into with me being a teacher. Because I hate to say it, being a teacher, we're basically that surrogate mother for 8 hours a day. The kids, once a kid get into a school setting, they're in school longer than they are at home. Really let that sink in. So you want to make sure you have like the right teachers that is going to be your same mindset. That's when you check in. And I know there's a lot of teachers that are like, look, I'm doing what the best I can do. And I'm like, guess what? And the parents are doing the best that they can do as well. But we have to cohabitat. It's almost like co-parenting. I hate to say it like that, but that's what it is. Because if we want to raise wolves that's going to be able to survive in this ever-changing society, we're going to have them still have like, be kind, be sweet, be generous. Yes, that's fine. But at the same time, understand the good and the bad, which you can't take the bad away, parents. You can't. In order for a child to understand good, they have to know evil. And when they know evil, they can see the difference for themselves and be able to advocate when you are there and when you're not there. And the same thing happens in the classroom. So it's almost like we can't put full reliability on the teachers. Just as teachers, we can't put full reliability on the parents. We got to do some coexisting. So as much as our culture wants to divide, we need to raise wolves, not just people that are waiting for things, not just people. I understand there's assistance, but at the same time, it's assistance for you to get up and to move. Now, I know I'm going to have a lot of people comment, but I feel like any comment is a good comment. So if you ever want to put any kind of comments down, please do not hesitate. At this time, I'm going to double check a couple of places. Say, hey, Robert. And we got Heidi, Heidi and Robert going back and forth. And a lot of people coming in and coming out. Valencia, William, we have T-Dub. What's up, T-Dub? Sandy, we have Cheyenne. So if you're not able to sit and watch the whole entire of this live, that's fine. Go ahead and save it. Because a couple of things that I really wanted to get into is the fact that we need to get our kids not so much learning how this is the rule, stick with the rule. Look at the rule. Learn from me. I had to break away from trying to be a sheep. And sometimes I felt like the last 51, soon to be 52 years of my life was a fluke because I followed the rules. I believed in social norms. I believed in everything. But then I feel like I haven't lived. And I want our kids to be able to live. Don't feel bad that your kid doesn't want to play football. Instead, they want to paint. Don't feel bad about that. They still can live a life of pure joy. But educators, we can't just keep giving kids packets after packets after packets, because guess what? It's going into their black hole called a book bag. It's only been taken out when it's time for a test. And majority of the time, the packet that they need for that particular test or quiz is always going to be in a binder, in their B-Day binder, and this is an A-Day class. Or they'll lose it because they didn't feel a connection with the notes that you were providing. So we're basically making the struggle worse instead of trying to make it better. And I know for sure you got administrators, sometimes administrators will come down your back and say, well, they're taking a lot of time writing down notes. It's taken an awful long time for them to do that. And that's part of the process. Because when you write, especially in math, when you write, you understand. You recite that to yourself. You're helping it stay in your brain. Because now you can visualize where exactly it's supposed to be. So now we're basically doing small steps to help that child from being a sheep to being a little pup, a wolf pup. And that's the beginning stages that they want to learn. Now they can understand, okay, this is the information and this is the information that's important to me. And I'm given the space to write some of this stuff down. That's what we want to do. Everyone thinks that that's what's going on in the classroom. Hell, we got kids that don't know how to write their hand in cursive because cursive is not being taught in the school system anymore. That's why if you look on Amazon, you just do a quick little search on cursive books, you're going to see tons because everyone recognizes that there's a lot of kids that when I was in the classroom, I was like, okay, there was a part of the SAT that they had to sign their name. And I was like, guys, pause, sign your name, don't print. And they're like, we don't know how. And at the time, this was back in 2013. Yeah, 2013. And a lot of those kids do not know how to sign their name because it wasn't taught. So now let's flash forward to 2024. And I still have kids struggling how to add, subtract, multiply, divide fractions. Because guess what, guys? They weren't taught it. It was during the pandemic. Or a lot of them are struggling with solving one-step and two-step equations because that happened during the pandemic and they weren't really paying attention. They were home in their pajamas and they can't believe that they're home in their pajamas and they're supposed to be in school. So that was a whole process that we're still addressing, that we're still trying to wrap our minds around. So if we did such advanced stuff, I wouldn't have an online tutoring business. And if I may, I wouldn't even have my math notebook that I created. And the reason why I created it, because I got tired of a lot of my students that were coming in and they were just like, wait, I don't have my notes, or I have these notes, but it doesn't make sense to me. So I'm always asking them, take a picture of your notes and send it to me. Let me see what you're dealing with. And then they show me and I'm like, okay, so let's summarize that. And they don't have a place to summarize. So now they're like trying to find paper. And I'm like, I know you're going to lose that paper. Do you have a book? Do you have something? And they have nothing. And they're like, wait, Audrey, like, what is this math notebook? This math notebook is just like things that we used to use back in the day. It has Cornell notes. That's it. Just organizing my thoughts. Up at the top, what formulas are we using for this session? Down at the bottom, what are the steps that I need to solve this? And then a space for them to write some examples. It's simple. And everyone is starting to pop up. Oh my God, Audrey, this is amazing. This is great. oh, this is wonderful. My kid would definitely be organized with this. I mean, I have a couple examples on here. If there are some handouts that teachers really need for the kids to have in their book, they can tape it in. They can tape it right into the book, put it on the side where the graph is, put it to the side, fold it, and then the opposite side, they can summarize what's on that paper. That's how you study math. You don't study math by, oh, let me take a look. The secret of studying math. When you have your notes, book, you put it to the side, and then you work out the problem on that paper. And once you work out that problem on that paper, then you bring the notes back and you look to see if you've done it correctly. You're going to use your notes as an answer key. Regardless that you did that problem before, yes or no, we want to make sure that you understand the concept and you understand how to break it down. That's the whole premise of it. So if you really take a look, you're like, oh, well, that's really cool, Audrey. That's nice. I like the cover. It's cute. But that's not the only thing that I have on here. I have a resource section. And notice I have like little tabs on the side of it. Okay. Sometimes these in where the most popular part, which this pink part is going to be my resource one. And under my resource page, okay, I know it's backwards. I have a resource page. So in this resource page, it's like the problems. One is something that I created, my factor sheet. So guess what, people? Your kids don't understand multiplication. They don't at all. You can give them a multiplication chart. They don't know how to use it. They don't know how to organize it. So what I did was I kept it simple. So you just figure out where you want to go. Okay. Then you got your factors right next to it. Okay. So then you can easily find your factors. So if I wanted to find, let's say, what's the factors of 67? I already know it's prime because the only factors of 67 is 1 and 67 because 1 times 67, that's the only way you can get 67. So having that just at the tip of your fingers, that's it. Then on top of it, how about word problems? Does your kids struggle with word problems? Everyone's kids struggle with word problems. So why not have a resource which translates the most popular words in most word problems and address it to what operation it's connected with? Like division. Everyone's like, okay, what's division? Per. If you're doing miles per hour, you're doing your miles divided by the hour. That's how you set it up. So having those words and phrases, it's right there. How about this? Rules of integers. Okay. What do you do when you add, subtract, multiply, divide positive and negative numbers? Does your kid always get that wrong? Now I got a resource. It's all listed here with examples. All right. So this is not just for elementary school kids. This was really designed for middle school and up, all the way up to adults. If you're an adult and you're going back to school, you're taking community college classes, and you're like, there's so much that's going on, and the pace of the class is so intense. Hey, this is what's happening. Now, when we have our linear stuff, everything that deals with the line. Excuse me, I got a cat that wants to entertain me. Okay, all the equation that deals with the line. Slope intercept form, point slope form, standard form, okay, vertex form. All that is listed. Everything is in there. How to find the quadratic formula. What is the discriminant? All that is listed. How about order of operations? Huh? Order of operations. Not only what we do in the United States, but also what we do in our lovely places of Canada and our lovely places of the Great Britain. Okay? I keep saying the Great Britain. I wanted to say Europe. Okay? Everyone has the same philosophy, but they're saying it in a different way. That's in here. Properties of exponents, that's in here. Let's advance it up a little bit. Let's talk about circles, sectors. Okay, sectors are in here. Okay, volumes in here. Not just area and perimeter, volume. And all those formulas are in here. And then let's take it up another notch with Pythagorean process, Pythagorean theorem. Not just the Pythagorean theorem, but let's look at those trig identities, right? Let's look at those trig identities. Let's look at those quotient things. All those things that your kid is like this. I don't remember how to do this. Now you can put it all in one spot. And then the creme de la creme that makes almost every Algebra 2 kid want to lose their minds, and I'm trying to keep it nice and censored, the unit circle. You're probably looking at this like, say, what? I got the unit circle in here. So now I can actually have everything in one source. And then actually, before I even started this live, I added 2 more pages because I noticed certain things that my students that are constantly struggling, I added already. So the newer one that's on Amazon, that has the 2 additional pages in there. And then like everything else, we have those brain breaks. These kids, they need a brain break. Sometimes you're writing down a whole bunch of notes and you see them doodle. That's perfectly fine. That's creativity. You're still making the mind be active. So we're shifting bit by bit from being a sheep, follow the directions, be in a line, to now being a wolf. And even a wolf needs a break. So what I do is I incorporate brain breaks. Small things, okay? Small puzzles. Small things that, Sudoku puzzles. And if you got some people that like to color, I have like 2 pages where they can color. They can doodle. They can take their erase pens. They can take their gel pens. Don't do Sharpies because it will leak through. It's not perfected, but that gives you that. If you got kids that are really into pixel art, hey, I got a couple pages of pixel art that they could actually do things with. And I left a blank part just in case they're in the midst of the pixel art, that if they want to sketch something, they can sketch. Or maybe there was something important that was said in class and they didn't know what to flip it and they just wanted a place just to quickly write it down. They could write it down right here. And then, of course, the very back, it was just like a small introduction of me. And if you want, I'm going to put the QR code up in front. I think you should be able to scan it. If you want to get more details of how else you want to do, I have a video that's connected to my QR code. And with the QR code, you can actually, if this one doesn't work, it might be on the other one. I have like a small video. It's on my YouTube. I might connect it so you guys can get that. So it kind of gives you an idea. This is just for math students. It's not for English. It's not, you can use it for science because science does a lot of the math components, especially geometry. But, not geometry, chemistry, there we go. But it's really designed to help you get your thoughts organized. Because the more advanced that you go, the more formulas you're going to be faced with. The more things that is going to be thrown at you. And this is the reason why I'm saying enough with the packets. Get the book. Because now they can store everything in there. And like I showed you with the tabs on the side of it, they can do these removable tabs. You can list it. You can say, okay, this is my linear section. This is my quadratic section. This is my trig section. This is my data analysis section. So then you can actually find things a lot quicker. And then unlike this copy, the other copy, I actually have, a table of contents. And you know and I know, kids are not going to take it this far. I think the removable tabs will be a lot easier for the kids because they like it instantaneous. Okay? They like it instantaneous and get it up there. So that's what I do. Because of the things that's happening in the classroom, I know a lot of people are like, oh, you're probably trying to, profit from it. I'm trying to share my expertise to make your child's life or yourself better. That's all I'm doing. Because if we weren't going in a certain direction that our kids don't need this, I wouldn't do this. No one would do this. I wouldn't even be tutoring because you wouldn't need tutoring. You wouldn't need someone to break down the concept and say, whoa, let's take a moment. What's your first step? Why did you do that first step? Awesome. What's your next step? Okay, so now you got an answer. Does it make sense? And if the answer is, yeah, okay. All right, so how can we check it? Just to make sure. And just by doing those guided things, I'm building your kids' confidence. Hi, Nana. I'm building your kids' confidence. I'm building what you want your child to have. You want them to be independent thinkers. So we have to set that up. If we can't set that up and we're just telling them, go to school, you eat your lunch, respect the adults, come home, listen to your parents, go to bed, do it again. Because then when they finally get a moment of freedom, aka college, gets kind of crazy around here, and that's what happens. These kids are like, I have no one to tell me what to do. Let's go crazy, because in addition to all of this, my tutoring, all that, I do Uber Eats. I do delivery. I had to do it that was me being a wolf this summer because this summer was hellacious. That's like probably the nicest way of me putting it. So I had to make do what I got to do. So I did deliveries. And let's just say there's a couple colleges, people had some scares because I delivered a lot, and I mean a lot, of pregnancy tests for the past couple of weeks. So I'm just letting you know, if you can take the information as you want it. But my thing is, we need to instill this in our kids early, because when they go into high school, trust me, they're going to be jammed with a whole bunch of stuff. And then on top of it, they're trying to be social. They're trying not to be alienated. They're trying to fit wherever they want to fit in and be themselves. And then we all sit here and say, hey, once you guys get into college, then you really can expand out. But you just need to survive the next 4 years of your life. I don't know about you, but that's a little stressful. That's a little bit stressful. So I have, like Heidi mentioned, a couple things. These things used to be listed in textbooks, and kids could refer them. They don't know the vocab to find it online or on online textbooks. It's easier to find it in a physical. There's more to it. Sorry, in a physical textbook. Bring back the textbooks. I know. But see, my thing is, because the textbooks are too heavy, everything has to be digitalized. Everything has to be online because we're worried about our kids' backs. When I was in high school, I didn't have a locker for 2 years. The locker that they tried to give me didn't have a door on it. And they're like, what's wrong with this locker? I don't know if it was a race thing or not. I'm just going to let it go. But the very next day, my mom and I went to a store and found a luggage bag that you just strap on your back. And I had all my textbooks, English, Spanish, history. So, and these books are not like paper thin. There were some thick mama jamas, right? And I'm walking around with it for 2 years. Maybe that's why I'm strong as hell right now. Because that's what I did. When it was the winter time, I'm walking around with my coat and my books. And everybody's like, why are you walking around with all your stuff? And I'm like, because I don't have a locker. It took these people 2 years to figure out that I didn't have a locker. But I didn't learn how to advocate for myself because I was following with the rules. Okay, I don't have a locker, so that means I have to carry my stuff with me. That's how it translated. So this is a good resource. If you're interested in the math notebook, it is available on Amazon. It's called the Ultimate Math Notebook because there is no other math notebook on Amazon like it. It's not just Cornell notes. It's Cornell notes on one side. It's graphing paper on the other side. It's 100 pages of those things. So 50 of the graphing paper, 50 of the Cornell notes. You can easily do additional problems on the graphing side. It's light enough that you can use pencil, but it's also great enough if you want to use erasable pens. Then on top of everything, not just for me to sell, if you need a tutor, I'm a tutor. I'm a math tutor. And if you only need a tutor for your youngest kids, I have friends that are tutors as well that I can connect you with. But I don't want you to feel that you're stuck. Yeah, tutoring is expensive, but not everybody has the same price. Some people will do other things. So now you have a resource. If you want to contact me and let me help you find the right person, do it. But it's up to you to take that first step. It's the end of September. October's right around the corner. You're going to see a couple of days off here and there for professional developments. I know parent-teacher conferences are coming up. And trust me, your child may have told you everything that's going on in the classroom. They may have not. So, and that's what kids do. They rather hide the pain than come face to face with it. Because we're so busy protecting. So let's not raise any more sheep. Let's raise some wolves. Let's give them the things. All right, you're not doing well. What do you need? What do you think you need to help with this? What can I do to help drive this? And if you need some assistance, I'm here for you. You're not by yourself. So my thing is, we need for people to stand up and to be able to know what they're standing up for. I'm tired of people up and talking about stuff and they haven't done any research. The reason why I do what I do is because I spend time researching. Yes, I don't go to bed till sometimes 2, 3 o'clock in the morning because I am researching. What is it that can be helpful? And I go out and I do it. So I'm going to end this live. But before I end, if you have any comments, please, when you watch the replay, you can hit #replay and put down your comments. If there's something that you agreed upon, awesome. Let's do it. If there's something that you didn't agree upon, say it. Don't just keep it milling in your head and then all of a sudden, oh, she doesn't know what she's talking about. Say it. Say it to my face. I'm all right. Gen Z. Sorry. I'm Gen X, really. So, we're used to if you got something to say it here, don't hold it back. But my thing is, I'm tired and I know you're tired. Enough with the sheep. Enough of, oh, this is too hard. Hey, we got to tackle it. We need to face it head on. No more sheep. We want wolves. And if you want to be a wolf in sheep's clothing, all right, you can handle that. But we don't want to be the wolf that has been rejected by its pack because of its sheep's tendencies. Think upon that. All right, everyone. So have a lovely day now that I got you thinking, processing, and don't forget to comment. All right, talk with you soon. Take care.